Hello,
I think we're
everyone.
live.
We are live. Thanks, everyone, for joining again for another live reaction. We had a few, difficulties, but we're here now.
Yes, we are. We made it.
So we missed last week. We've been aiming to get one stream done per week, but we missed last week. So we're back now.
And that was my fault, everybody. Sorry about that. I was out of town traveling, and I could not stream while I was traveling. But I should be good to go going forward.
But our last stream we did was with Anthony Chafee, and it was kind of what we would expect from him after what we've seen in the past. And there was like one study between the Messiah and Akakiyu, and he referenced that again. He references that a lot. He even referenced it in a recent debate he had with Jack Higgs. And I had a chance to look a little bit at this paper, and the paper it's got like really big issues, like just the one tribe, it was the Akakiyu, who had poorer health outcomes. They were eating just a few limited foods, low in calcium, and despite that, the Maasai, they had higher arthritis actually in that paper. But anyway, it's not the sort of diet which most responsible health professionals would think is a health promoting diet based on what they were eating, with calcium in the gutter.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That is not surprising at all.
So today we're going to be looking at a video with another doctor. This one is Dr. Paul Mason. The video is titled "Logical Fallacies of a Vegan Diet: Why You Shouldn't Feed Your Child a Vegan Diet."
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
So let's jump into it. And hello, CDA Activism. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate you being on the stream. I'm a fan of your work as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's jump in.
So, g'day, I'm Dr. Paul Mason. Now, vegan diets are often promoted as being both healthy and ethical. As you're about to learn, however, this is not necessarily the case. This is a photo of Sheila O'Leary wearing prison greens after her 18-month-old baby died of malnutrition while being fed a vegan diet. Died of malnutrition.
So I'll get ourselves out of the way there. But like clearly in the description of his source, it says a vegan mum starved toddler to death with a diet of raw vegetables.
That's just so funny. I actually didn't see that. That's actually really funny that it even kind of debunks his fear-mongering just with his own source. Yeah, no one's advocating for a diet of raw vegetables, let alone starving your kid with raw vegetables. Yeah, that's a great call out.
Yeah, I actually made a reel on this earlier on today. I started watching the start, and I saw that, so I might upload it a little bit later, just to make it clear that responsible health professionals are not advocating for starvation, and there's like infinite diets compatible with avoiding the exploitation of sentient beings, the commodification of sentient beings, and a diet of raw vegetables is compatible with veganism, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's health promoting. There are health promoting iterations of diets compatible with veganism, such as generally a healthful plant-based dietary pattern, whilst an Oreo only diet could be compatible with vegan ethics. It might not necessarily be health promoting. Starvation is also compatible with vegan ethics, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's health promoting. And normally, the fact that you can find it so easily, the issue which was going on, means that it's pretty hard to actually devise a diet which is not health promoting if you're plant-based, because it's just so obvious the few cases, the anecdotes you see online.
Yeah, like whenever they do have like parent feeds kid vegan, kid dies or whatever, right? It's always very obvious. Why it's not like everyone's scratching their head going, "Oh man, there's something about a plant-based diet that we just can't figure out." No, they always either underfed them or didn't supplement or it's always I agree. Yeah, it's always very obvious and it's just fear-mongering. It's just whenever you're talking about something so vague, it's luckily that he kind of gets exposed with his own article title in the corner. But whenever you're talking about something so vague, just fear mongering. Oh, don't feed your kid a vegan diet or a plant based diet because they will die. It's like that's not true. If we're talking anecdotes, my nephew, who is 7, going to be 8 this year, I think, and he has been vegan his whole life. He hasn't had any animal products, hasn't had any animal flesh his whole life. So, and again, it's if you feed anyone, a kid or adult, the right amount of calories and you supplement properly, they are going to be fine, So your kid isn't going to starve just because you feed them a diet compatible with veganism.
Yeah, and there's lots of studies building evidence base that children can be healthful and a well formulated diet compatible with veganism that meets all the basis. And there's also omnivorous diets can also be result in starvation if in cases of under eating. So yeah, any sort of dietary pattern can be dangerous if you're not getting enough calories or not meeting specific nutrient requirements.
Yeah, 100%.
Nutrition while being fed a vegan diet. And this, unfortunately, was not an isolated incident. In fact, after a number of deaths linked to vegan diets, Belgium has now introduced laws where parents face 2 years in jail if they feed their children vegan diets without vitamin supplements and close medical supervision, including regular blood tests.
That's great. Okay. They should have been doing that all along. Like that's the standard, like that's not saying he's almost framing it as in like, there are strict guidelines because of how dangerous plant-based diets are. It's like, no, they are actually putting in the guidelines that you need to meet in order to feed your kid a plant-based diet or in order to eat a fully plant-based diet. You've got to supplement. And I guess maybe the regular blood test, if you're supplementing, might be a little much, but I don't think that's a bad thing. If you got to supplement, you've got to eat enough food. You got to make sure your levels are good, and that's it. Yeah, that's not a scary thing at all.
Yeah, and I don't know how true that is, whether or not Belgium have legalized that, but all reasonable vegans promote or say supplementation for vitamin B12 in cases where people are not getting enough vitamin D or iodine through fortified foods or supplements. This is a requirement. And like
like again, it almost seems like he's framing it in a way that like parents who feed their kid a vegan diet or a plant-based diet want their kids to starve or something. And these guidelines are in place to prevent that. That's not true. In fact, and that's a good point. Yeah, we don't know how true it is, but let's just grant that what he's saying is true. These guidelines, if anything, are going to help parents who do want to raise their kid in a way that's compatible with veganism to actually do it in a more educated and a safer way. I think if those guidelines are in place, that's great. I think that it should be, parents need to be educated on supplementation, on how to eat plant-based better. All parents should be educated better on nutrition in general, but I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, and on to your point about guidelines, I saw a recent paper this week where looking at children and high adherence to just dietary guidelines in general led to less hospital visits for these children. So yeah, high adherence to actual guidelines seems to be resulting in better health outcomes generally, and as CDA activism is, implying there. Even omnivores take supplements.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking back to what I ate as a kid, we're acting as if like parents who aren't vegan, they're like the best. Like they track all their food and they're feeding their kids the healthiest diet on earth. No, most parents don't meet the guidelines. Most kids probably aren't meeting the guidelines for like fruit, vegetable, whole grain intake. So again, it's just fear mongering. It's just looking at this specific group of people and saying, hey, this is extra dangerous. It's like, no, it's not.
And even if a vegan diet doesn't kill, it can still lead to severe and often permanent consequences. No parent should ever have to live with the knowledge that they've caused their child permanent brain damage.
So while I was waiting, I actually opened up these different articles he's citing at the start. So I can have a look at this article here. I've got it. And normally, as we said, you can sort of find the problem in the article. Okay, so it says, O'Leary and her 33-year-old husband told police that they fed their child a diet of raw fruit and vegetables. So there you have it.
That's it. Yeah, you don't need to read anymore. Yeah, again, this raw fruit and vegetable, that's not going to be enough. What kid's going to be able to get enough nutrients and sustain themselves on raw fruits and vegetables? Let alone adults. At least with adults, they're like consenting and they can figure it out if they want. If you want to do like a raw vegan diet, which I would, probably advise against. But yeah, no, that's the issue right there.
And yeah, I've got three more articles open, so that we'll see.
Oh, perfect.
Damage. Nor should they have to watch their toddler's bones snap under the weight of their own body.
Okay, let's check this one. So vegan parents sentenced for allowing a toddler to become so malnourished, her bones fractured. Okay.
Quick call out about that. What's interesting about that is actually in factory farming for chickens, oftentimes egg-laying hens, they end up, their bones end up breaking over the weight of their own bodies because they grow so quickly and they lay so many eggs that they lose nutrients and they don't have strong enough bones to sustain their weight. So it's interesting how he is shedding light on how horrible an experience it is to have your bones break because of your own body weight. And then that same thing we see over and over and over again for egg-laying hens in the factory farming industry. So that's
great point.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Thanks for bringing awareness of that. And yeah, just I'm having a quick browse of this article, and it says that she was not up to date with vaccinations. The parents had been inconsistent and untruthful and had told authorities their daughter sometimes ate meat products, but was evading vaccinations. So yeah, there's some red flags here.
Yeah, in the link to the bottom left, it says unvaccinated bone disease rickets. So yeah, there's a lot of red flags when it comes to that, like they're like anti-vaxxers. But also, what kind of doctor or scientist or anybody uses news headlines to say anything truthful? Like we already know that news headlines are usually some kind of exaggeration to draw in attention, to get people to click on the article or whatever. So the fact that this doctor is using news headlines to conclude any type of truth claim or come to anything truthful, I think is already dishonest.
That's such a great point, because reasonable doctors won't just take screenshots of
the headlines.
And it's just anecdotes go in every sort of direction possible, and it's just like trying to make sense of gibberish, really.
Yeah.
So
both consequences of vegan diets. So how is it then that diets which are promoted for their health benefits could be dangerous to children? Well, it comes down to nutrients, or more specifically, the lack thereof. The most well-known being vitamin B12. There's an awful lot of misinformation surrounding whether or not plant-based foods have B12. So I'll make it simple. There is none. So I'll make it simple. Surrounding whether or not plant-based foods have B12. So I'll make it simple. There is none.
All right. So first of all, he said the lack thereof, just a little bit earlier on with regards to the nutrients. You know, you can just go on Cronometer, a formulated exclusive plant-based diet that meets all the bases, can get all the essential nutrients. And then regarding B12, who cares, right? If you can synthesize it, and even it's like made by bacteria, but who cares when you can just take a supplement and not have to pay for an animal to be killed?
Yeah, and we know like most kids are picky eaters. Like most kids are not going to be tracking their own food in Cronometer and being like, oh, I got to make sure I eat more of this. No, they usually hold on to very specific foods that are either comforting for them or taste good to them. So kids should be supplementing anyway, whether you're vegan or omnivorous. You should probably, if not via fortified foods, which most kids get through like cereals, it should be a supplement. Like they make gummy. I don't know if you have this in Europe, but they have Flintstones gummies here, which are made. They're like gummy vitamins in the shape of like the Flintstone characters. Who do you think they're making that for? Right? Like, why do we have these gummies? It's not just for vegans, right? They're not even vegan gummies. They're for kids who may not be getting all of the nutrients they need from their diet, specifically of, French fries and chicken nuggets. You know what I mean? So, again, most kids should probably be supplementing anyway, and they make vegan kid supplements. So it seems simple. They have vegan gummy vitamins and supplements. So why wouldn't you just feed them 2 of those a day and you're done?
Yeah, and I believe that there's some people who can also have better absorption with the synthetic vitamin B12 because some of the ones in animal flesh, the vitamin B12 in animal flesh can be harder to liberate, I've heard. So
yeah, I think Vegan Gains has that. I thought he talked about it where he's one of the people who has to get a supplement or has to get a shot because he won't get it properly from food. So that's interesting. Yeah, I have heard that too.
But yeah, I think there's some people who get part of their intestine removed, like need shots, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Like I need to double check this, but yeah, I've heard of this.
The amount of B12 you see in the foods on screen here is exactly 0. And the deadliness of B12 deficiency has been known for a long time.
I'll just add that there could actually be some trace amounts. It won't be enough to satisfy your daily needs to take a supplement, but there could be some trace amounts there.
A long time. In fact, there's a condition where vitamin B12 cannot be effectively absorbed into the body called pernicious anemia. Pernicious, quite literally meaning deadly.
So pernicious anemia, you get it when it's like it's a symptom of B12 deficiency, and it's called pernicious anemia because it seems very similar to normal anemia.
Interesting. Okay.
Or harmful. And for a long time, this disease, pernicious anemia, was universally fatal. I'll say that again. Universally fatal. It was only in 1925 when the use of beef liver extracts containing B12 began to be injected that pernicious anemia ceased to be universally deadly. The discovery, in fact, led to the awarding of the 1934 Nobel Prize.
So that's interesting. Pause it for a second. So number one, this is just more fear mongering. Again, we haven't even discussed like the very easy way for you to avoid a B12 deficiency on a whole food, on a plant-based diet. But also it's interesting how he said that they kind of came up with like a B12 supplement in 1934. Yeah, like I feel like he's trying to demonize or talk poorly about plant-based diets because we need supplementation, but now he's kind of talking about how good it was that there was a B12 supplement that was created and they won an award. And like I feel like I don't really know, like, does he think B12 supplements are good? Does he think they're bad? Like, his message is kind of confusing. And also I find that interesting because most low carbers or most carnivore dieters I know, they always like to talk about how little disease there was or how much meat we used to eat and had no heart disease in the early 1900s or the early 1800s. But clearly there were people getting B12 deficiencies even back then, to the point where they had to invent a B12 supplement to prevent a pernicious anemia. So again, it's just more like conflicting information. Was there disease back then or wasn't there? Based on a lot of their claims. Oh, no, as long as you eat meat, everything's fine. You don't get any disease. You don't have to worry about any of this. But clearly in 1934 and way prior to that, people were dying of pernicious anemia. So, it's very conflicting information.
Yeah. And if someone's got a deficiency in B12, a reasonable doctor, health professional would recommend to take a supplement rather than saying go eat some animal flesh, right?
Yeah.
It's way more reliable, as you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. Yeah, because you can't rely on individuals to make like changes, like big dietary changes like that. But you can rely on a supplement, on like a consistent dose that you give somebody that's going to cure their deficiency. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and food is less reliable than the supplement, right? Because supplements, they also have some variability, but it would be like in terms of degree of confidence that you'll be getting vitamin B12. I would feel more, confident taking a supplement.
Yeah, 100%, exactly.
It's impossible to get adequate B12 from any plant food that has not been specifically fortified. And please don't believe the lie that you can get enough B12 from the dirt of unwashed vegetables. This is simply untrue.
Yeah, I agree. I really dislike it when plant-based dieters say just eat unwashed vegetables for B12. I think it's a dangerous thing. Just take a supplement or eat fortified food 3 times a day and you're sorted.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's no reason to roll the dice on that.
Eating dirt can't save an unsupplemented vegan diet. And it wasn't until 1972 when B12 was finally synthesized in the lab. And after this, following a vegan diet theoretically became possible longer term. And when I say longer term, I mean for more than about 5 years, because that's about how much B12 can be stored in the liver. So how does a well-balanced vegan diet, as promoted by the likes of Dr. Michael Greger here, reconcile with the B12 deficient nature of a vegan diet? Well,
so they never show a vegan bodybuilder, right?
Yeah. No, and I always hate when they put Dr. Greger up there because they know what they're doing. Like, I know they would never openly say it. Well, some of them do actually, but I know he would never openly say it, but they're like body shaming him. They're literally like making fun of the way somebody looks to prove like their bias, even though again, people look different. Like Dr. Greger looks the way he looks. That doesn't mean he's not, it doesn't mean what he's saying is wrong. Doesn't mean that plant-based diets are deficient or harmful. I don't get that. Like, yeah, is he the best looking guy I've ever seen? No. But is he also the most unhealthy or like the worst looking guy? No. He just looks how he looks. Leave him alone. You know what I mean?
Looks are subjective as well. And Dr. Greger, I've never actually seen him promote ethics. So from what I know, he promotes more of a, whole food, plant-based diet. I haven't seen him. I know I have one friend who mentioned that he saw some content of him talking about ethics sometime, but yeah, I don't know if he's ethically vegan or if he's just a supporter of plant-based diets for health reasons?
I feel like I've heard him talk about ethics too. But yeah, all of his content is based around the nutrition. But I feel like, I don't know if it was in a documentary, or I feel like I've heard him talk about ethics too. But
yeah, I had a friend mention this, so yeah, if you find it, we can have a watch sometime.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look for it.
Well, understand that the phrase well balanced is really code for needs supplementing, either in the form of foods which have had B12 artificially added, or simply by taking B12 supplements themselves. And here's the rub.
Well-balanced needs supplementing, like theoretically, a vegan diet could meet all the adequate needs through fortification. So it depends if you count that as a supplement, but
again, like, it's just all of these buzzwords, artificial, synthetic, like, this doesn't actually tell us anything about the health outcomes when implementing these, like a supplement in a population, or like, it doesn't, he's just fear-mongering. He's just trying to say, look, this is kind of scary, and it's just better to just eat meat and get everything you need. Don't eat the artificial, synthetic, lab synthesized, fortified vitamin B12. Like, who cares? Who cares about that? I don't, especially when we look at it from veganism, which is now wanting to contribute to the exploitation of animals. Give me the pill. I'm good. Give me the fortified nutritional yeast. That's so good. I eat nutritional yeast every single day because it's so high in protein and it's so good.
Yeah. And the point I was making was more that I take supplements because but because I also eat fortified food, I don't actually know if I need the supplement. It's more like a backup. So
yeah. You're saying like, if you plan it right, you could probably get away with just fortified foods and not actually having to take a multivitamin or like a pill. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like salt, you can get iodine through salt.
Mm-hmm.
So algae is an unreliable source, I would say. But if you're having iodized salt, you could it might. And then for vitamin D, if you have it in your milk, if you get so there's some plant milk, mushrooms. I think with vitamin
mushrooms
D.
are pretty high in vitamin D too.
If you're also going outside, so theoretically it could be possible. But just to be clear for everyone watching, I advocate supplementing.
Yeah, me too.
And as CDA activism says, honey is not vegan.
Yeah, you made a mistake on that one, huh? Yeah. He's like, that's a funny call out, yeah. Because he's like, what's vegan? He's like, soy milk, margarine. He's like, and honey crunch cornflakes. It's like, nope, messed that one up.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Form of foods which have had B12 artificially added, or simply by taking B12 supplements themselves. And here's the rub. Even though it's universally accepted that plant-based diets are deficient in B12, necessitating supplementation, and the supplements are both cheap and readily available, the rate of B12 deficiencies in vegetarians, let alone vegans, is staggering. Try 62% of pregnant females, or up to 86% of vegetarian children, or 90% of the elderly. Consider for a moment.
So when they normally flash up these statistics, like, you need to take into account whether they were supplementing, because even vegetarians, they will benefit. As we've talked about, all sorts of dietary groups could benefit from a supplement. So just these raw statistics, I'll have to have a look at that paper specifically, but just generally, there's papers in which vegans who supplement have higher B12 status than meat eaters. There's studies with cereal with fortified vitamin B12 where the babies who were fed fortified cereal had higher status than meat eaters. So
and it's again, it's just looking at, like, without even having to look at a study, we could give 10 different reasons as to why those statistics, if they're accurate, may have been the case. Because he also, the way that he frames it is also kind of misleading, because he's saying, okay, plant-based diets are deficient because they require supplementation, which I already disagree with. Lifting Vegan Logic always points that out. He has a great statement where he's like, if you supplement, then it's no longer deficient, you know? So like if it requires supplementation and you include that supplement, then you have a complete diet. So that's already irrelevant. But he words it in like, okay, you need the supplement or else you're deficient. Okay. He's saying the supplement is cheap and easy to produce. Okay. Those are pros. And then he words it, he's saying, despite how cheap and easy it is to produce a supplement, vegetarians or these populations of people are still deficient. He doesn't actually tell us if those people were supplementing. Most likely actually weren't. I think what his point is, hey, people, even though this supplement is so readily available, people are still deficient and they're not taking the supplement. But just because something is cheap and readily available, A, doesn't mean people are educated, right? Most people are not properly educated on nutrition or supplementation. B, it doesn't mean the individuals are going to do what they need to do, right? How many people don't exercise is free? How many people don't walk? How many people are sedentary? Like, that doesn't actually tell us anything. So I would love to see if they were supplementing B12. Maybe they were, but the way that he's framing it, he almost makes us want to think that they were supplementing and were still deficient, but he never actually says that. He says it's cheap and easy to get, but despite how cheap and easy it is to get, people are still deficient. He doesn't say they were taking it and are still deficient. He's trying to say like, oh, people aren't, you know what I mean? The way that he's framing it is just kind of misleading.
You know, and it's a literature review. So literature reviews is like a really low level of evidence because people can pick and choose what they put into it. It's like, it's like towards the bottom of the hierarchy. So, and then, if you do supplements count as food. So your diet is not deficient, right? Because if you're taking a vitamin to make up for what your diet doesn't include, then your diet is no longer deficient in that specific vitamin.
Yeah, hold on, I'm just reading something. Here, look, this is great. Look, so right at the bottom of that I don't know if that's the abstract, but right at the bottom of the first paragraph, it says the main finding of the review is that vegetarians develop B12 depletion or deficiency regardless of demographic characteristics, right? Place of residency, age, or type of vegetarian diet. Vegetarians should thus take preventative measures to ensure adequate intake of this vitamin, including regular consumption of supplements containing B12. So they're in their review, they're not saying they were looking at people who were supplementing. They're saying, hey, vegetarians, because they're not supplementing, are deficient, so they should probably supplement. So you see what I mean? Like, the whole framing is like, instead of looking at, oh, okay, as long as you take the supplement, you're good. He's trying to like fearmonger and frame it in a way that's like, this supplement is cheap and easy and people are still deficient, but they weren't actually taking it, you know, from what it's framed out in the literature review. So yeah, it's just weird. Like, it just seems very dishonest to me.
Yeah, and like I would guess it's cross-sectional data, essentially, just looking at a snapshot in time. But I need to have a look at the study, and it's a great spot. Like, yeah, I need to have a proper look to read the studies. But as you said, my gut feeling is that some of the studies included might be cross-sectional, where you just take a group of people and have a look at a small, snapshot in time at their levels. But yeah, I need to dive into it. But yeah, the people writing the paper, that was a great spot. That even they don't say they should eat animal flesh. They just say regular consumption of supplements containing B12. So
yeah, easy. Like again, it's just more of a like misleading framing and fear mongering, but interesting.
Or 90% of the elderly. Consider for a moment that if vegetarians and vegans fail to supplement with a nutrient known to be essential, that is cheap and easy to get, what does it mean for other less well-known nutrients that are only found in animal foods? Grass-fed steak, for example, contains vitamins D, B12, K2, and A. The omega-3 fats EPA and DHA12. Grass-fed steak, for example, contains vitamins D, B12, K2, and A.
So vitamin K2 is not really absorbable to the form in in animal flesh. It's like MK4, and it's not too absorbable, and
And I mentioned this before with a different carnivore YouTuber, but when we're looking at steak, vitamin A is not a great source of vitamin A. Like, it's a very small source. Maybe with grass-fed, again, like you mentioned before, sometimes the amounts are higher. But I would not say that steak, like a ribeye or sirloin steak, is high in vitamin A. And you could check that in Chronometer. It's a pretty low source, at least compared to what like your daily what you should be getting on a daily basis. It's low. You would still need something else.
And omega-3 as well is very low. Just taken out, like an algal oil supplement has like 250 milligrams of DHA, for example, or it depends on which one you're buying, but compared to, it just completely dwarfs what you're getting from some animal flesh.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why we're talking about steak that has all of these vitamins like sprinkled in there, like barely enough to hit any percentage of your daily allowance. Like, are you just saying it just to make it sound better? Because that's what it seems like. Like, are you actually looking at the amount consumed in like from like a practical standpoint of like how much steak you need to eat to get enough vitamin A? Or it sounds like he's just saying that to make steak to like glorify this superfood. You know what I mean?
And regarding vitamin A, all the cases of toxicity I've seen have been with eating, liver. Like, I haven't seen a single case of vitamin A toxicity from eating plants. So that's something else to bear in mind.
Yeah.
There was a stream recently on the Lifting Vegan Logic channel, and one of the guests brought up a good point, is that when these people bring up, vitamins that we don't know about, like, how far do they go? Like, will they, because there could be vitamins in anything which you don't know about, dirt as well.
Oh yeah, you're talking about I got to that point. I haven't watched the whole stream, but you're talking about when they were reviewing the Chaffee debate. Yeah, no, that was a great point. Yeah, he's like, why does this only apply to meat? Right? Like, these unknown vitamins, why wouldn't it also apply to plants or to rocks? Yeah, he said like rocks. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, there could be phytonutrients that we don't know about, which could extend life in plants. New polyphenols, so many different phytonutrients that we probably haven't discovered yet. And who knows, also there's probably other chemicals we don't know about. So it can go in either direction. So it just seems a little bit silly to just speculate when we can just look at health outcomes and just see which foods are generally the most health promoting when consumed with greater consumption, when doing comparisons.
I know, 100%. Yeah, and especially at least if you're going to speculate, be fair. Speculate in all areas. Don't just speculate in one direction. That's just bad speculation too.
That are only found in animal foods. Grass-fed steak, for example, contains vitamins D, B12, K2, and A. The omega-3 fats EPA and DHA, creatine, carnosine, carnitine, choline, heme iron, taurine, and zinc, all of which are either absent.
So I did see a paper that when you cook flesh, like the creatine, it gets converted to something else. So the amount you're getting is much lower. And in general, either way, like the amount of like animal flesh you need to eat to get 5 grams of creatine, which is in the supplement, is like so much. and omnivores, they take creatine as well. And then heme iron, for example, there's some potential links with it. Some people are speculating potentially it could be not too good for, you know, cardiovascular health. And then, yeah, you can get adequate zinc without having to consume meat. What else did you mention? Yeah,
it's only in a diet. It's only when you're advocating a diet where you're eating nothing but kilograms worth of red meat every single day could you possibly imagine getting enough creatine from red meat. Again, even if we're looking at omnivorous diets, we're looking at diets still filled with helpful plants like whole grains, fruits, vegetables. Only in the carnivore diet are people advocating for nothing but red meat and multiple pounds of red meat every day. That's crazy. That's, again, I don't know how, I still don't get how this is like a growing thing, but whatever. I guess we'll see what happens.
And the other things he mentioned, such as, carnosine. Did he mention carnitine as well?
Probably.
Yeah, so carnosine, taurine, they're not essential, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do that all the time, dude. They do that all the time.
And I think Dr. Nagra also mentioned it in the stream I was talking about.
Vitamins, the energy drinks or whatever. Yeah.
No, I was saying Dr. Nagra, I think he mentioned in the stream on the Lifting Vegan Logic channel that carnitine is not, carnitine in excess. There's some links. I think it was carnitine, but yeah, that it could have poor greater consumption could be associated with poorer outcomes for cardiovascular health. But yeah,
interesting. I thought you were referring to when he said that when they talked about how taurine's only found in meat, and Dr. Matthew Nagra actually was like, how many energy drinks have taurine in them? You know, like there's taurine added, like fortified in all types of stuff. So that's also not true. Yeah, I don't get it. But hey, can you, before we start, can you give me just 1 second?
Yeah, no worries.
All right, cool. Give me one moment.
But yeah, guys, have you got any questions or? Yeah, that's a great point. Always have to direct them onto the health outcomes details. Yeah, it's always important to look at what actually happens in the grand scheme of things in terms of actual health, rather than speculating on mechanisms. No nooch is bad news. Yeah, I don't have nooch too much, but yeah, it's definitely nice. I like to put it on top of legume pasta, so it gives it quite a nice flavor. And then it's also fortified in a few B vitamins, B12. CDA Activism says, my mom would watch this and believe this clown. Okay. Well, hopefully maybe afterwards you can show your mom our reaction and maybe she'll be convinced the other way. This is, I guess, why we do these reactions.
Yeah, parents are funny. My mom used to make some outlandish claims from what she saw on TV. So parents are really funny.
Or deficient on a plant-based diet. So here's a question. How can a vegan diet possibly be the healthiest diet for humankind when without artificial supplementation, it will eventually kill you?
Just look at health outcomes, and then who cares if without supplementation you will die, when you can just look at the health outcomes of people consistently supplementing, because in the grand scheme of things, you'll have a supplement available to you the whole of your life, unless you're on a desert island. Yeah, no, again, it's just more this whole talk of like death. He's like constantly repeating this. Like he even that slide of like an open grave in like a cemetery. It's like, again, this is just silly. Like, I don't know why. There's no need for the theatrics here. Let's just look at the data. Yeah, I've traveled quite a bit. I've been fortunate to travel quite a bit, and supplements, they're always available wherever you are. haven't had any issues.
Yeah, and the way I order my supplement, I get a 2-month supply in one bottle. So I just bring that wherever I go. I mean, I'm not going to be traveling for more than 2 months, or if I was, like you said, you could just go to the local drugstore and find a supplement. So
Now, you may be sitting there thinking, yeah, that makes sense, and yet still be a bit confused at how plant-based advocates can cite piles of seemingly valid science. Well, they do this by relying on poor quality science. Meet the evidence pyramid, more formally known as the research hierarchy. Down the bottom, we've got the lowest level of evidence. The middle layer, in light blue, refers to a weak type of research known as observational or epidemiological studies.
So he didn't explain why he thinks it's weak, because there can be great observational studies which are just for confounders, and you can sort of get infer causality from them, and then because you can do long studies through an observational nature to get an idea of exposure. And then epidemiology, also randomized controlled trials are actually classed as epidemiology. So when people criticize epidemiology, that if they don't actually be clear with what they're saying, they're actually criticizing randomized controlled trials as well, because they're actually classed as epidemiology.
No, it's a good call out. Yeah, that's good to know. I actually didn't know that for a long time until I heard, forgot who said it, but yeah, that's a great call out. And also what in the hypocrisy is this? You know what I mean? Like, he's using headlines to try and prove something about vegan diets. And here he is saying, these plant-based advocates, they use something really weak called epidemiology. It's like, you just showed some headlines on the slides. What are you talking about?
And there are also randomized controlled trials, which also support more plant-based, dietary patterns.
Yeah.
Now, the ranking of observational studies down from the top of the hierarchy reflects their limitations. As the name suggests, they involve the observation of populations.
He actually missed the meta-analyses there, like above randomized controlled trials.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I actually just had that thought too. So I don't know. This is also kind of a weird pyramid.
So you can do meta-analyses of observational studies, and you can also do meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials. And yeah, they're not there.
Limitations. As the name suggests, they involve the observation of populations, and relationships between observations are then interpreted. For example, the rate of cancer might be compared to the number of bananas eaten. It's important to understand, though, that just because two observations associate together provides no evidence that one caused the other. Observational research cannot...
Do you have any idea why you just had a cat on the roof?
Yeah, no, I don't know if he's saying, like, maybe he's saying that the cat didn't cause the dent, even though it looks like the cat caused the dent. Like, maybe he's saying, like, just because the cat is on a dented roof doesn't mean I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. That's weird. That's super funny.
Prove anything. In a legal sense, observational research provides circumstantial evidence. And while observational studies do have a place, they really ought to be backed up by experimental research. And any researcher who uses observational evidence to prove causation is not only scientifically incompetent, they probably don't like cats. And here's the rub.
So I'll just quickly add that there's actually a good degree of concordance between randomized controlled trials and observational studies when they are matched for things, when you compare like dietary intake and observational study with dietary intake in the randomized controlled trial. There's someone called Lucas Schrimshackle. He's got a paper on this, and they've got a great degree of concordance. And in terms of when they say it cannot prove causation, like even randomized controlled trials, they're just looking at correlations. Like the whole of science is basically based on correlations. Like it's never possible completely to, as far as I've seen, to just like through a randomized controlled trial prove that something is like directly the cause.
Yeah, it's just a what's it called? It's just like a word game where like I feel like it's a given in nutritional science, right? Obviously we got to say it, and they do say it in the studies, but it's like a given that all of these are like strong associations or like really good inferences based on the research. But now all of these low carbers are coming out being like, actually, the truth is that they cannot infer cause. It's like, yeah, we know that. Like nobody's really, like I feel like again, it's like they're like a white knight, like they're coming to save innocent people from the misinformation. It's like, no, that's not true. And yeah, I think especially when you have like hundreds of thousands of people worth of observational studies, and especially when they adjust for confounding factors, it's really good research. Like I don't think you could just discount, just because it's observational, like, hey, this doesn't mean anything. It's got to be a direct experiment,
Yeah, I'd like to personally learn more about causality. I want to read a few books on this topic, but like, as I understand, a lot of the times you infer causality. So you look at the available data, and based on the associations, you have like more confidence towards saying something is causal. But yeah, I'd like to learn more about it to see if this is correct what I'm saying or not. But yeah, everything in science is just based on observations. Yeah, this is what I've learning science has taught me. Like based on correlations, then you apply models. It's based on what you've observed, and then you refine them as you get new data.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of what they're looking for is like, okay, you eat the piece of meat and then you get cancer, like that, like 100% of the time. That's what happens, and it's just not how that works.
Yeah, like there's a dose, and then there's so many different factors, right? It can also be some genetic variability for different outcomes, such as I think certain people might have a certain like genetic like a higher chance of getting certain cancers just based on their genetics, and then like some people can smoke their whole lives and not get lung cancer. So
yeah,
but these people, they won't say, that means it's okay to smoke, right?
Right. Or smoking doesn't cause lung cancer. Yeah.
Like there can be so many different things in the causal pathway which sort of like increase the risk or decrease the risk, and it's like, that's how I understand it anyway.
Yeah.
Whenever you see headlines demonizing red meat, they refer to either a link or an association. And when you see these words, you know that the research was observational, and therefore the conclusions drawn are almost certainly meaningless. Another issue is that much of the observation...
So, yeah, he didn't provide an argument as to why the associations are meaningless, or in his view, because, as I mentioned earlier on, there's a great degree of concordance where the results of observation, like in terms of the relative risk or hazard ratio, seems to be very similar to randomized controlled trials.
Observational research on nutrition is performed using self-reported food frequency questionnaires, as if asking someone how many eggs they consumed in the previous 12 months could be in any way reliable. Bear in mind that most people struggle to remember what they've had for breakfast.
So a lot of these food frequency questionnaires, they actually ask you to recall what you've eaten sort of in a weekly basis, or so it's not like, what did you eat 1 year ago?
Yeah, again, the way that he's framing it is definitely misleading. Yeah, it's not like that. They usually, not only are they more, not only are the food frequency questionnaires more frequent than that, But I've seen studies where they actually I don't know what, I'm not too familiar with it, but I've seen where they do like a
Calibration where they sort of weigh food, maybe.
where they like check in on the individual participants in the study and they like calibrate. Yeah, they actually like verify. They see what they're eating, or like and then they compare it to the food frequency questionnaire, and then they adjust based on like how they answered and what they react. Like there's a lot of complex like adjustments and math that go into it. It's not as simple as, oh, what did you eat in the last year? And then based on what they said, they're like, oh, well, you got cancer, so it must be, like there's this, it's a lot more to it.
And just in case the unreliability of food frequency questionnaires doesn't confound findings enough, researchers often conflate things like pizzas, hot dogs, and hamburgers with red meat. And you don't need an overpriced research degree to know that this kind of conflation is not scientifically valid. People eating hamburgers are probably also having a side of Coke and fries. This is called confounding, and it's impossible to control adequately.
So, there's studies which can adjust for things such as energy intake, consumption of refined sugars, and so this is sort of adjusting for these sort of things that Dr. Mason is mentioning. And then food frequency questionnaires, what they do is they measure contrast in exposure. So he has often an argument as to why they don't manage to do this, because the whole aim is just to see, identify people who consume more of a specific food and then look at the outcomes of them. And so the whole idea is just to generally record people who consume more, that whether they, correctly tick that. And this is where, the calibration comes in, which we've talked about.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
Furthermore, how should you categorize this pizza?
Oh yeah, I'll also add that there's papers which adjust for, things such as when they're used as when animal flesh is used as topping, or animal derived products are used as toppings, and it still finds an increase in risk.
Or red meat and processed meat. I know that's a pretty common adjustment too. It's just like, what I want to know is what's his alternative, right? Like, so he's got all these critiques for this observational research that shows the foods he wants to eat are leading to worse health outcomes, right? So what's his alternative, right? Has he ever proposed like, oh, no, let's use this more reliable research? I don't think so, right? I think his thing is he's critiquing the data because it goes against his own personal bias, but there's no other alternative. Like, this is how you do nutritional science. Like, are you aware of anyone who's come up with any other alternative for like nutritional research? Yeah,
and his alternative seems to just, so far, the only evidence he's really put on the table is a few headlines, right? He hasn't really
right. Like, is his alternative just speculation and mechanisms? Like, because that's way lower on the evidence hierarchy. So, I always get so curious about that, because they're always like, well, the science is bad. Okay, what would be good science to you? And then they either tell you something that they know doesn't happen or can't happen, and no other field has ever required it to happen, like a 50-year-long randomized control trial in like a ward with twins or something, something crazy. Or they don't have an alternative. They look at isotopes. They say, well, actually, we should just eat how we ate 1 million years ago. It's like, okay, so you know what I mean? Like, it's if you don't have an alternative, then the critique may be valid, but like, what are you suggesting?
Have you seen any members of the carnivore community, drink out of ponds or anything like this?
No, I haven't.
Or drink?
No, I haven't.
Or like, how far do they take it, right?
Yeah. That's always a funny question. It's like, do they have bathrooms in their home? Do they filter their water?
Do they drink
that's
their own
always-
urine?
Right.
Pizza with ham and pineapple. Putting aside the fact that they're probably a bad person, does it get classed as a fruit or a vegetable or a meat? We also have something called healthy user bias, where non-meat eaters are more likely to engage in healthy behaviours. So when we're constantly bombarded with messaging telling us that red meat is bad, it's individuals who care about their health who are most likely to limit their red meat intake. So it ends up that the people who eat less meat.
So health user bias, it's generally used to mean when people sign up for a study that they are more likely to be healthy. And then what he's talking about, things such as physical activity, the papers actually adjust for this as well. So they look into, stratify by people consuming, people performing, different types of, or different amounts of activity per week. So this is also something which is adjusted for.
But also, if meat was so health promoting, right? If it was such a superfood, so health promoting, even with people who are doing other healthy activities like exercising, like not smoking, if plants were really trying to kill you, which we don't know if that's what Paul Mason believes, but he clearly, subscribes to some of that like anti-nutrient thing, then wouldn't you still expect to see some negative health outcome for taking out meat or for reducing the consumption of meat based on their logic? Like if the meat is so health promoting and plants cause so many issues, whether it's, digestion issues, and things with nutrient absorption, protein deficiency, because they're incomplete proteins, whatever they think, you'd still expect to see that. So again, even if, what he's saying, like they are healthier, people who don't eat meat or eat less meat also do more healthy activities outside of that, you'd still expect to see a detriment, I think, based on their logic.
Yeah, and even just among the people who are healthier, the ones who are consuming more plant-based, generally in the studies seem to be healthier as well. So
meat are also more likely to diligently exercise, buy organic foods, and sleep 8 hours every night. So instead of observational research, we should seek out randomised controlled trials, shown here in yellow. And unlike observational studies, these can control for the effects of confounders. In a randomised controlled trial, subjects, along with all of their confounding variables, are randomly allocated to one of two groups. And with enough numbers, this random allocation means that the confounding variables are evenly distributed and therefore don't affect the study results. This research design is considered gold standard, and unlike observational studies, randomised controlled trials can show causation. In effect, randomised controlled trials trump observational research, hands down. As an aside, you might be wondering, what is at the very top of the pyramid? Well, systematic reviews are when researchers collate all the available evidence using unbiased search criteria. The problem is that even when well performed, a systematic review can only be as good as the quality of included studies. Remember, garbage in, garbage out.
It's so funny because earlier on he actually shared not a systematic review but a narrative review, which is even lower in the hierarchy because it's not a meta-analysis, it's just collating studies.
Yeah, no, there's so many, they have so much confusing, or they use, what am I trying to say? They have such a confusing message. They say, okay, well, meta-analysis are the highest of the list, but if you have the weak studies in the meta-analysis, but then earlier he shows a literature review. So
yeah, it's like a narrative review on B12. Yeah.
So he shows a narrative review, doesn't talk about the individual strength of the studies in there, just shows essentially like a pop-up of like some kind of, essentially it's just another form of a headline because he's not actually going into the studies or the information. So again, he's essentially saying that I think it's like a contradiction. He's saying that headlines and literature reviews are and are not adequate evidence for claims, right? In the plant-based area, they aren't, but to support his opinions, they are. So I would say he's contradicting himself big time.
And also the meta-analyses, they actually have a sorting procedure in which they exclude studies. So they, and then at the end also they do things such as assess for publication bias and stuff. So it's not like they just cherry pick what they want to include in the meta-analyses.
So in addition to study design, research can often be compromised by using poor outcome measures. This is particularly common in studies that seem to promote vegan diets. This often includes surrogate markers which serve as proxies for meaningful clinical outcomes, and the use of proxies or surrogate markers is unfortunately rife. The utility of some outcome measures is obvious. Did you die? It's hard to argue that this is neither meaningful nor relevant, and it's also very hard to fudge. What about LDL cholesterol, though? A common surrogate marker used in nutritional research and assumed to associate with the chance of dying. Except the best research we have suggests this association doesn't exist. The overwhelming finding of this systematic review of 19 cohort studies with more than 68,000 participants was that.
So earlier on, he sort of criticized systematic reviews, and then now he's sharing one, and this is the one which all the carnivores they love, because it's not only meta-analysis. Yeah, go ahead.
Not only that, but he also criticized observational research, right? These are cohorts, so he criticized epidemiology, but now is using it to prove his point or to justify his, like. Either you don't think epidemiology is strong science, so you don't use it, or you do think it's strong science, and then you follow all of it. Like you can't just pick and choose. Like that's literally cherry picking. You can't pick, oh, actually epidemiology works for this as systematic review, but not for the other ones.
And I'm just checking the other one he shared on B12. That was it a narrative review?
Using a PubMed search to identify relevant publications. 18 articles were found that reported. So they used 18 articles from PubMed. I don't know.
So it could be just like a narrative review.
Where they just went in and picked the 18 articles.
There is no credible evidence to the contrary. The less 68,000 participants was that.
So 1 minute, I'll just go back.
Suggests this association doesn't exist. The overwhelming finding of this systematic review of 19 cohort studies with more than 68,000 participants was that the higher the LDL level, the less chance of dying. There is no.
So there's something it's known as like the LDL paradox, obesity paradox. So it's like U-shaped associations are pretty common, and like when you don't adjust for the fact that people, when they get ill, they can have a drop in LDL cholesterol levels, and then they shortly afterwards they have potentially an event or a death. So this needs to be adjusted for, and there was a cool paper which I did a reel on where they adjusted for like a 2-year lag, and then once you adjust for the 2-year lag, the association gets rid of this U or J shape, and so that's what needs to be adjusted for. And I think I had a look at this paper ages ago, and it's just literally just picking one study at a time. So it doesn't do a meta-analysis on it, and I believe that a lot of the studies didn't actually adjust for this.
Adjust for it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Matthew Nagra makes a great point too, where when we're looking at, because the claim is that when you have higher the LDL, the less risk of mortality or less risk of cardiovascular disease, whatever they say, right? A lot of those cases are comparing to individuals who've already had a cardiovascular event and therefore were put on a statin. And statins lower your cholesterol, right? So if you're comparing an individual who has a higher LDL but hasn't had any cardiac event or cardiovascular disease event or whatever, and you compare that to people with lower LDL but who are on statins, the people that have already had a cardiac event and are on statins can still be at a higher risk of dying versus people who have higher LDL but haven't had any intervention or haven't had any cardiac event yet. And that's something that a lot of times they don't adjust for, which, and Dr. Matthew, I don't know if he was talking about this paper specifically, but he was talking about that, how that's important to look at. You have to look at who's on cholesterol lowering medication, because yes, their cholesterol might be lower when you measure their cholesterol, but overall their risk could be higher because they may have had higher cholesterol for longer. They may already have had a cardiac event, stuff like that, compared to people who haven't. So that's also something to look at.
Yeah, and I'm reading, it says one explanation for the increased risk of mortality among people with low cholesterol is that serious diseases may lower cholesterol soon before death occurs. 10 of the studies did not make exclusions for individuals with terminal illnesses.
Okay, well, that's 10. How many studies were there? What did they say? Like 19 or something? So that's already more than half.
Let me have a look. So 19 cohort studies, including 30 cohorts. So yeah.
So more than half of them, they didn't adjust or exclude due to terminal illness. So that could already be a great explanation. Yeah,
I'm just having a look. But yeah, they also did mention something about the statins. It's worth considering that some of the participants with high LDL cholesterol may have started statin treatment during the observation period.
So again, if you start a statin, sure, your cholesterol is going to go down and it may prolong your life a little bit, but you could still be at higher risk compared to somebody who hasn't had a cardiac event. Or maybe who genetically like more protected or something.
Yeah, if people want, I can look into the study a little bit more and make a reel on it because it keeps on coming up.
Yeah. No, you should.
So yeah, I should look into it.
No credible evidence to the contrary. Use of LDL as a surrogate marker, while being common in nutritional research, is indefensible. And
so I'll add that there's LDL cholesterol is actually it's like imperfect surrogate for something known as ApoB. Have you heard of ApoB?
Yeah, I've vaguely heard of ApoB, but I'm not that well versed on it.
So like to briefly explain it to you, LDL cholesterol, when you get your LDL cholesterol measured, it measures the total amount of LDL cholesterol inside LDL particles, right? And LDL particles, they're atherogenic, but there's also other types of particles as well, such as intermediate density IDLs, and then there's also LP little a, and then all of these have a tag on it known as ApoB. And then so basically any particle with an ApoB tag is atherogenic, so it can lead to atherosclerosis when it builds up. And so the ApoB blood test, it measures the total amount of these particles you have. So someone could theoretically have high LDL cholesterol, but the particles are very big, so they have very few particles. So So this is why like it's an imperfect measure, because normally the more people, like the higher LDL cholesterol, the more particles you have, which could be atherogenic. But like for me, for example, my LDL cholesterol is a lot higher than my ApoB. So which suggests, for example, that I have like big LDL cholesterol particles, because yeah, my ApoB is really low, but my LDL cholesterol is high. So LDL cholesterol is just like, the amount of cholesterol inside the particles, while ApoB is the number of particles.
Okay, interesting. So it's not really, so what we're looking at when it comes to heart disease, it's not really the cholesterol, it's the ApoB that's attached to the cholesterol.
So just like atherogenic particles have this, this tag, this ApoB tag, and the more particles that you have, the higher your risk of atherosclerosis.
Got it. Cool.
So when there's a discordance, it's like all things being held equal. If there's a discordance, like if your LDL cholesterol is low but your ApoB is high, then it's like not necessarily a good thing, because you've still got lots of particles in your bloodstream.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
But like I have discordance in that my ApoB is super low, but my LDL cholesterol is not too bad. Like it's not the best, but yeah, like this time, like the last time I did my blood test, like I don't really eat too much vegetable oils, but I'm starting to like incorporate a little bit of vegetable oils more into my diet.
Makes sense.
The last time I took my blood test, it was during the Christmas period, and I was having lots of vegan cheeses high in coconut.
No, I can't get. I got to get my blood work done in like the summer, because if it's around the holiday time, I mean, vegan cookies, vegan cakes, I'm done for.
Yeah, and they're all like the vegan cheeses I had. I think they were high in coconut oil, which is sort of in the middle between vegetable oils and butter in terms of raising your cholesterol. So it's not necessarily. Many people think coconut fat is really healthy, but it should be, from what I've seen, consumed in moderation.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because if you add vegetables, your LDL cholesterol and ApoB will tend to go lower. So how much do you want to continue next week with this video?
Sure. Yeah, I'm down. It's cool. I don't know if you want to do a few more minutes but if you're if we're gonna call it, I'm cool with continuing.
No, we can see what people want.
Oh yeah, how's everyone in the chat? Oh god, how long does this garbage go on for? It's endless CDA activism. It doesn't end, and we're here enduring it. So
yeah, CDA activism, right? Tim Sheaf drank his own urine.
Oh, funny enough. So do you guys know who Tim Pool is? Tim Pool. People, I don't know if it's because of the hat, but whenever I have a video with a hat on, people keep calling me Tim Pool. So as like an insult. So I would like to know if anybody knows who Tim Pool is. I would like to know who he is.
Okay, guys, everyone, friends. Yeah, if you know who Tim Pool is, let logical consistency know.
Because I Googled him. Like, I kind of look like him with the hat. It's kind of funny. But I just want to know, like, why people... I don't know if he was vegan or what. I don't know. I couldn't really find too much info.
But if anyone lets you know, give them a shout out.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Okay, so... Animals are here with us, not for us, says, I guess this is over now. Not really, we're like a quarter of the way through. But we're deciding whether we should continue. CD Activism says you can stay on and watch something good.
Yeah, rings a bell.
You don't look like him.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I'm down. If somebody has a recommendation in the chat or something, it's up to you also, because I know it's late by you. So
That's okay. Like I can stay a little bit longer,
okay.
but
Yeah, if
we can
somebody
keep
has
on
a
going.
request.
If someone has a request, send it in. Otherwise, we'll continue with Dr. Paul Mason.
So you now know to be suspicious. The next time you see a vegan wheeling out associational studies based on food frequency questionnaires or similar, or experimental designs using weak surrogate markers, you know now how to interpret the quality of some of this science.
Oh my God, he's creating an army. He's like, now you know that when anyone brings up a study, just call them stupid and walk away. It's like, that's horrible advice.
And CTA Activism is writing we can't put the links in the chat because we're not mods. I don't know. I don't know that you cannot put links in the chat.
What's the title?
Yeah, if you have give us a title and we'll find it. But it's funny that he hasn't actually mentioned any randomized controlled trials up to this point, because there are, randomized controlled trials which confirm observational research.
He hasn't mentioned much of anything. Again, he mentioned headlines. He's had some interesting photos, and that's about it. A lot of it's like speculation. He did bring up that one meta-analysis of the disproving like the link between LDL and
it wasn't even
heart
a
disease.
meta-analysis. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Systematic review, and there are long-term RCTs like the Leon Diet heart study, which he hasn't mentioned, and there's like RCTs looking at the Mediterranean diet in terms of nuts and olive oil consumption.
What about the Mendelian? I heard the Mendelian randomization, right? That one's pretty good, where they looked at the people who are genetically high with who have genetically high cholesterol, right?
Yeah, and then just confirming the findings, right? Just different lines of evidence pointing towards the same thing.
Yeah.
But if randomized controlled trials, the results are also based on associations on what you see in the two groups.
Yeah.
So CTA Activism, if you have a title of a video, we can find it, or you can send it to us on Instagram.
Oh yeah, you could always send it on Instagram. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Do we want something pseudoscientific or just funny?
That's on you. Whatever you want.
Now, one of the biggest claims made against red meat is that it causes bowel cancer. You may remember in 2015, the World Health Organization released this two-page report that resulted in a worldwide media frenzy. Paraphrasing Dr. Georgia Ede, who has a great analysis on her website, it's not so much a scientific report as it is a political hit job. Let's start with unprocessed red meat. Now, there are more than 800 observational studies in the literature looking at red meat and cancer. And the authors of this review considered 29. And even then, things didn't really go so well, as the majority that they looked at found no issue with unprocessed red meat. And as you know, observational studies are weak anyway, even if
So I'll add that it depends a lot on the dose as well. Like there's some studies looking at red meat consumption with just such a low dose, like a bite of red meat, which is, we wouldn't expect to necessarily see an increase in risk for colorectal cancer with that. Like I did Lane Norton, he always cites the same study from the Alberta project. And in this study, for example, the red meat was very low, the consumption.
Yeah, it's not enough just to say, 15 say it's good, 15 say it's bad, so we don't know anything. You got to look at the details in each individual study, because the doses could be different, the controls could be different, or the adjustments. So I always found that to be weird.
Okay, we've gotten a request by CDA Activism
All right, let's do it.
paying vegans $1,000 to eat meat.
Oh my God. Okay, let's do it. That's anyone who takes that's not enough money. That's just not like from like a threshold standpoint. Like if somebody paid me like $1 million, the amount of activism I could do with that money or the amount of good I could do, I don't know if I would pay. Like I don't know if I would pay for the meat, but if somebody had already bought it or something, with enough money, it would almost have to be justified because I'm vegan, and as long as I could put that back into veganism. But $1,000, I mean, that's not enough money. That's not even close.
But yeah, before we jump to that video, there was actually one of the articles I didn't open up. It's this one: vegan parents avoid jail. I'm not sure if I opened this one because I've still got a few of his headlines he opened up. But like there was one article I had where the parents fed the infant a mix of coconut water and powders instead of formula in this one. So that's something that caught my attention.
Yeah, there was also one where instead of feeding them breast milk or formula, it was almond milk, just like straight up almond milk. It's like, what do you?
Yeah,
it's not the same.
And then it's just generally you can find the problem pretty quickly, even in just the article. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and find this one.
Here, I'll also look for it too, just in case.
What's it? Paying vegans.
It's $1,000. Oh, I found it. Were you able to find it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, CDA Activism. This one's for you, buddy. First off, Patrick, just out of curiosity.
Hey guys, it's Marissa.
Yeah.
Today-
Would you take $1,000?
No.
Yeah. It's just too low. It's too there is a number like, and again, shoot me guys, I'm sorry, but at a certain point, like there is a number where, okay, as long as I didn't have to contribute, like if they already bought it, like it's either I take a bite or they throw it in the trash, and they said, we'll give you $1 million. Because I can take that money and do a world tour of vegan activism or invest it into vegan resources or even donate it to like vegan outreach resource, whatever, I would just, I feel like it would almost be like obligatory to like, I don't know, like I feel like it would be justified. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Patrick.
Well, I've got a question for you. Would your position still be the same if, for example, someone was offering you human meat?
Here's the thing. And I've thought about this. I have thought about this. So if there were a group of humans that were treated as commodities, right? Same thing like in the animal context. And I was a human rights activist for that group. Again, with enough money, maybe not maybe I got to be consistent. Maybe not $1 million, because that, again, $1 million's a lot, but it'll go like this. But with enough money, yeah, I'd have to eat the human meat. Like if it's already like, if they're like gonna throw it out, or I take a bite and I get, I don't know, $1 billion, the amount of good I could do with that money, I don't know. Like it would almost like, you know what I mean? Like there's a line. I'd have to really think about it, but there is a line of like, okay, this one bite of meat that non-vegans eat, multiple times a day, every single day. This one bite, I can get the resources to make so much positive change. So I don't know.
But you could potentially use the money to save humans and stuff. So
Right,
there
exactly.
could be a line where it's just like the number of lives you can save with that money, or just any lives you could save, right?
Right. Right. Even whether it's donation, whether it's doing activism full time, whether it's turning more like recruiting more vegans to start like who knows, like with that much money, you know? So guys, put in the chat or something if I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's my initial speculation, my intuition is saying, okay, with enough money, it might the ends, or what's it called? It might be for the greater good. But just to be clear, for no amount of money would I actually pay for it myself or kill an animal myself. That I couldn't do. I wouldn't do that for a human. I wouldn't do that for an animal. Because that's a whole nother thing, I think.
So does this apply also in a hypothetical situation where it's you've got you're killing one animal to save a million?
Mm-mm. That's the thing, is I don't think I could cause the rights violation. Like, I don't think I could kill the animal or pay for the animal to be killed, right? If someone else had already done it, and it's either like, again, it's already done, they're either going to throw it out, or I take a bite, I get $5 million or $5 billion, whatever. That's where I'd have to like weigh out the threshold. But yeah, no, I couldn't. Just for my own values. Like, it's a lot of money. Like, at some point, maybe it'd be tempting, but I don't think I could do it.
So, the train track.
The trolley problem?
Yeah, you would just let the train run over the one person.
See, that's that's interesting, because that I find a little bit different than the initial question, because like the question is, would I kill one person to save a billion, right? That's one.
I guess a better way of rephrasing would be like, what would you rather happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not what would you be able to do? Because I don't think I can kill someone as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's two, because the trolley problem is it's either one person dying or, let's say, a billion people dying. Yeah, I'd pull the lever, no problem. I'd kill the one person, or I let the one person die. If there was no other choice, and free the billion people.
Potentially, you would probably just freeze up and not do anything, but
potentially, yeah.
But like, if you could do something, like, what would be the better option? That's what I feel like these hypotheticals are getting at.
So for me, like I said, like, if I'm not causing the rights violation, like for me, if you said, okay, you have to violate an innocent person's life, and by doing that, violate an innocent person's rights, and by doing that, like in the form of murder, and by doing that, you prevent another murderer from killing a billion people, right? For me, I would not become a murderer to stop another murderer, if that makes sense, right? But if somebody said, hey, you have two choices. You can either pick and have one person die, or pick and have a billion people die. Just from like a suffering, like a weighing out the amount of pain and suffering that would cause, I would pick the one person.
But so in this hypothetical, is this killing like an innocent person?
I'm not doing the killing. They're going to die no matter what. So either the one person's dying no matter what, or the billion people are dying no matter what. It's like the trolley problem. I didn't create this contraption. I'm not causing it. I'm not killing it. I'm just choosing the amount of people that dies.
But you mentioned a murderer.
That's a different example. So that is me having to kill someone, or me having to violate an innocent person's rights to prevent a billion people from having their rights violated.
But so if you could,
I would not
do it.
No, I would not.
Even if you could.
Yeah, so no, I wouldn't. I'm not for like, because that's like a utilitarian calculation. I'm not for violating an innocent person's rights to prevent other people from having their rights violated. You know what I mean?
So you have no, you're like a pure deontologist. You have no threshold.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like maybe, like for example, if it was like, no, because I talked about this with a Vegan Power Lab the other day. Like in any in all scenarios, no matter how great that other number is, it's always the like causing the murder, like me murdering somebody, that is immoral to me, right? That's a rights violation. I'm killing them I'm killing an innocent person. If I don't act, if I don't do anything, then I'm not committing an immoral action, right? Somebody else's. So for me, I don't think I could justify like killing an innocent person just so multiple of innocent people don't get killed by someone else. You know what I mean?
So like your preferences are just to keep your like own hands clean.
Oh, well, when you say it like that, I feel like I know what you would do, Patrick. I feel like would you kill that one person?
Well, if I know I've got a threshold here, but if I know 1 trillion people or there's like an ongoing bloodbath for eternity, yeah, if I could do it and in this hypothetical situation, I would do it. Yeah, I guess.
But what's like when we're talking about rights and we're talking about morality, what is the difference between one innocent person having their rights violated and 1 trillion, for example?
Well, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Like in terms of numbers?
Well, no, obviously I know the difference in terms of numbers, but what I mean is like from an individual perspective, from like that individual's perspective, it's either one individual or 1 trillion individuals. You know what I mean? So like from that perspective, if I murder, right? If I murder that one individual, I am the murderer. I committed an immoral action. Versus if someone else murders the trillion people, I did not go against my values. I did not cause that. Somebody else did. Somebody else is a horrible person, whether it be Hitler or Hitler-esque figure, but I didn't do it. Like for example, if we look at something real like the Holocaust, like World War II, right? Would you be able to torture one person just to prevent Hitler from torturing 6 million people? Like now, would you be able to, but do you think that's right? Like, do you think that's the moral thing to do?
So I'm like, when in terms of like, if I could do it, then yeah.
So like, let's say you were the one person. So let's say somebody has to torture you for 5 years straight in order to prevent the Holocaust. Would you want them to torture? Like, do you think that would be justified for them to torture you?
The thing is, every individual cares about their own life, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the grand scheme of things, just the amount of rights violations going on, then yeah. Obviously, I would still be like, don't do this to me.
Right. No, it's interesting because here's the thing. Like for me, what's ultimately moral, like to me, a moral obligation is to not cause that harm, suffering, rights violation, whatever, right? So if I'm causing that to somebody, even if it's to save more people, I am the one doing the immoral action. We could do it in the animal context too. Like if I don't know what's a good example, but like if me like slitting a single cow's throat would prevent, somebody else,
or like if you doing that to a single animal would end animal exploitation forever. It's not what you would do, but if you could do it, but like what would you think would be the better option?
Yeah, well, because I guess in this case, in in the human hypotheticals we were using, it was like a one-time thing. It was like a 1/6 billion or whatever. But with animal agriculture, it's like a repeated, it's like an eternity thing. But still, I don't know. Like, I don't think, ultimately, I don't think it is moral to harm an innocent person to stop another villain, we'll call him a villain, from harming innocent people. You know what I mean? Like, obviously in the hypothetical, it's that trying to stop the villain wouldn't be an option, but that would obviously be like the only moral option in my mind, would be stopping the villain directly, not killing, because then we could just scale the number up, right? Because so it's, let's say it's one person versus a billion people, but what if it's 500 million versus a billion people, right? Would you then violate and kill yourself 500 million people to save a billion people? You know, like, because once the numbers start to get closer and closer and closer, it's obvious that it's wrong, or it's obvious, or to me, it's obvious that I wouldn't think it's moral. Go ahead, sir.
But so I'm still not sure what, like, in the example, if it's infinite number of people, would you do it, or would you think it's the right thing to do?
No. I might do it out of an emotional, like, for example, I might do it out of like an emotional thing where it's like, oh my God, so many people. Okay, I'll kill this one person. But I don't think it's a moral obligation. I don't think it would be something moral. No, I don't think so.
So I think we have a sort of a difference, because I care about total rights violations.
I care about total rights violations too, but not me committing. Like, for example, I value preventing, like, if I could prevent 100 rights violations versus 10, I would want to prevent more, but I wouldn't commit any to prevent more.
But
right?
you don't have any threshold, even if it's infinite number.
I don't think so. Because the thing is, I don't view like living as like having moral weight, or like existing. Sorry, I don't view like existing as having moral weight, if that makes sense. So like, you know, maybe in the context, no, but even then, I was gonna say maybe in context where like there was torture involved, like, okay, 1 billion people will be tortured nonstop for the next 70 years. All you have to do is have this one person tortured or something, you know? Maybe, but I don't think so. Like, again, I think maybe from an emotional standpoint, I might do it. Like, I'm not going to say, like, especially if I had loved ones in that 8 trillion people, like, I'm not going to say, okay, no matter what, I'm not going to hurt the other person. But from a moral standpoint, I don't think it's a moral obligation. And I don't necessarily think it's morally justified to harm that innocent person.
Interesting. So just to be sure, you said that if you had an option, just one person dies or an infinite number of people die, you would rather infinite number of people die.
Not I would rather see no. Not that I would rather the infinite number of people die, but I would morally be against violating the rights of one innocent person to prevent another. Okay, so like, again, I think it's a little bit confusing because there's 2 types of scenarios. It's either like in one of the scenarios, each group is dying no matter what. Either the billion people have to die or the innocent or the one person has to die. And all I have to do is pick a lever. I'm picking the one person to die. I'm not going to pick the 9 billion if it's heading that way to start. But in the scenario where there's a villain and he's going to kill 1 billion people, if I don't kill one person, I don't think it's moral for me to kill one person, one innocent person, so that way another villain gets stopped. Does that make more sense?
What do you mean by moral?
Like it is like I don't think it is a moral obligation. Like I don't think it is a I don't think we ought to do that, I guess. Like I don't think we should do that. Because then we could justify a lot of different rights violations in a lot of scenarios.
Like, could you give me a reductio on that?
Oh, I see what you're doing. So for example, if you're saying that it's justified to violate one person's rights, like if you're saying it's justified to violate a person's rights to save other people, is it only for that one number? Like I said, would you do the same if it was 500 million people versus a billion people? Right? Because when it comes to like, if all that matters is the amount of people, in your case, or the amount of suffering, what you're saying is that you would be a mass murderer. You would be a genocider, right? Yourself, just to prevent another genocide from happening. Just because there's maybe an extra million people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, by mass, you mean in the killing one person, or?
No. What I'm saying is, like, the reductio is this, right? If you're justifying the intentional killing of one innocent people by your hands to save a billion people, what I'm asking, or I guess it's implied, that all that matters is the number, right? The amount of people.
Which is like depends on someone's personal preferences. But at the moment, I've got a limit which you don't seem to have, right?
So what you're saying, like, I guess what I'm saying is, do you have like for example, would you kill 500 million people to save a billion people?
How much? 500 million?
Yeah, so half the amount of the other side.
I probably would not know.
But see, that seems like, I understand if you're like more of like I understand the idea of threshold deontology or whatever, but that just seems kind of inconsistent. Because if you're saying, okay, if it's one person versus a billion people, okay, I'm fine with violating or killing the innocent person to save more people.
Like the example I gave was infinity.
I mean, infinity, I don't know, man. Infinity, maybe. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if it would be, I don't think maybe it just comes down to like, I don't think it's a moral obligation to kill that one person to save an infinite. It might come down to preference, or it might come down to like what you think you should do in that moment or something. But I don't think let me put it this way. I don't think I would be doing something wrong or something morally apprehensible if I didn't kill that one person to save an infinite number of people.
Mm-hmm. But what would be the better option? Like,
if we're just talking raw numbers, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would prefer for 8 billion people not to get murdered and just one person get murdered. But I don't think I would. I just wouldn't do the murdering. Like, I just can't. That goes against my values.
But you said maybe for infinity.
Maybe.
But
I'd have to think about this more. Yeah, I'd have to think. If it's like a one and done thing, but maybe for infinity, maybe.
So like, if you had to violate someone's rights to like end the whole of animal exploitation or some sort of rights violations still going on, such as slavery, which still exists.
Yeah, but again, that's the thing. Like, would you like if we start mixing them too? Also, like, would I be able to kill one innocent person to prevent the rest of animal agriculture from going on? That again, I don't think killing innocent people is really ever justified.
Okay, interesting.
So But again, I'd have to think about it more. But I don't. Yeah, I don't think so. I would probably say I'm really like. I'm probably more pure on the rights.
So you're almost pure deontological,
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
except when you're pulling a lever.
Yeah, except when I'm pulling a lever, because I'm not causing the rights violation. It's already in motion.
What about if you're paying someone to do it, or
No.
what about if you're pulling a lever and then someone is gonna kill someone based on which lever you pull the lever, the handle in?
So like, same scenario as a trolley problem. I get to choose the lever, but let's say if I choose to save the 8 billion people, there's somebody on the other side who's going to kill more people now.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in that case, oh no, that's a tricky one because but who put the trolley? Here's the thing: someone had to set up this trolley. So either way, there's a murderer. So I'd probably just do the lesser number of people.
Wait, so
the lesser number of people. So like
in this situation, you would pull the lever in the direction where the murderer just kills less people.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this situation, why are you not just letting the lever stay in the direction in which the murderer kills?
Because either way, someone's at fault. Like either way, there's a murderer. Because you're not. I don't know if it's entailed in the hypothetical that these people just ended up here, but I'm assuming in this hypothetical there's some kind of person behind this trolley issue, right? Somebody who tied up 8 billion people on one side and tied up one person on the other side and let a train start going towards the, one person or the 8 billion people or whatever.
And what's the symmetry breaker with the other example I gave?
What is the other example?
So the other example where it's a guy, it's like, so in this situation, I'm saying there's a lever on which you pull, and then in both situations, one person goes on a killing rampage, right? There's a hitman whose actions depend on which direction you pull the lever in, right?
Yeah. I'm saying in the original trolley problem, I would choose to kill less people. And then in the second one, where there's a killer who's going to kill X amount of people, depending on which lever I choose, I'd still probably choose a less amount of people. So I make the same choice in each scenario.
And so then why when it's like, so overall it comes back down to your own personal
it's
action.
me. It comes down to me being the villain or not, or me committing the immoral action.
So that's just what's like.
Yeah. Well, if we look at it like, let's look at superheroes, right? Like, I don't know, Batman he can only save one group of people, right? He could only save like 500 million over here or save 3 people over here, right? He's going to go and save the 500 million, right? But if he had to like strangle or kill, I don't know, 50 people to save half the city, I don't think he would, like, in that scenario, he wouldn't kill those 50 people, right? He would, again, deal with the reality, or like what would end up happening is the villain would just end up killing half the city because that's the villain. Not Batman can't be the killer. It goes against his values.
Okay, so overall, your own, like, whether or not you commit a rights violation is just supersedes total rights violations all the time.
I think so. Yeah. And maybe there's scenarios like if somebody has a good argument against it, I'm not like married to it, but yeah, I think so.
Okay. So then you'll just have to be prepared to bite the bullet on strange situations, strange hypotheticals.
Yeah, I'd have to be prepared to bite the bullet on an infinite amount of death or killing by someone else just so I don't have to kill X amount of people. Yeah, I'd probably have to bite that bullet. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm prepared to yet, but
or you need to bite the bullet if someone said that, you know, if you could end the whole of animal exploitation, but you had to violate one person's life. Like you just say, oh, rather, just animal exploitation continues on for perpetuity for an infinite time period with just endless sentient beings.
Would have to buy that bullet. Because hypothetically, I mean, we could, if we went around and just killed every non-vegan or something, like we could do that. But I don't think anybody, like, once you start doing the numbers, once it gets anything beyond just one person, it starts to sound crazy. Like, yes, when you compare one person to an infinite number of people, yes, okay, yeah, maybe it's like far-fetched to think that you wouldn't kill that one person. But once you get past one person, once you get to like 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 100 people, 1 million people, compared to a larger number, even though that other number is larger, how many rights violations are you willing to commit to save more people? You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, because, for me, I care a lot about total rights violations. So, I would not be like, I'll be okay just saying, in this situation, in this hypothetical, if I could do it.
You would?
Yeah. To end like suffering going on for perpetuity forever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you. Yeah, but just then you'd be a murderer. Like you would, you know, be a rights violator.
So this is just something, I guess, which is really valuable to you.
Yeah. No. I to me, like, that's the thing is like, I don't want to go against my values. I don't think like that's the whole point of like having like a rights-based position is that it's wrong to violate people's rights. And even though someone else might be violating those rights, I'm not going to violate rights to stop somebody from violating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think so. Now that's different with self-defense. I think self-defense is different.
But just to try and get your values, just to try and understand, like, if you care about other rights violations or not. But it doesn't seem to be right.
Yeah, the only time where I would violate rights to prevent rights violations is if I'm killing the murderer. So, like, I'm fine with, like, killing murderers or killing people who violate rights.
I wouldn't really see that as a rights violation if you're killing a murderer who's on the
Well, some people do. Yeah, some people, you know, especially when it comes to carnivorous animal space or whatever. We won't get into that right now. But, you know, some people do. Some people.
But I also see it like I see them as victims, but I don't see it as a rights violation.
You mean to kill them?
Yeah, so it will be there will be victims, but it will be something we'd accept in the trait equalized human case.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So, for example, with carnivorous animals, I would my preference is to intervene peacefully.
Oh, you're just going for it. I would. I think. If we can say anything, it is definitely preferable to not have to do something about wild animal suffering. Again, I don't know practically what that looks like, but for sure, I think it is a more preferable position by far. So I agree.
But why if you don't care about like other rights violations?
No. So I didn't say that. So I care about other rights violations, but I said that I wouldn't become a rights violator to prevent those. So, like, for example, if I had to kill 10 zebras to save 100,000 zebras, I wouldn't. But if I could prevent 100,000 zebras from being killed, I would. Like, either by self-defense, like by shooting the lions. If I if I saw a lion about to kill a zebra, I think it would be justified to kill that lion or something like that, or with, you know, separating them or whatever the theories are.
So you, for you, under your definition of murder, like what you said with regards to a lion, would that count as a murder?
No, because you're killing a rights violator. So like if that lion in this case is like the villain, you know, or like the murderer or whatever, they're violating the rights. So it's like a self-defense.
Okay. So yeah, if anyone's got any points to add.
Thank you. We got on a big tangent, but that was interesting, Patrick. We should talk. Honestly, one day we should do a live stream where we just like shoot the shit, you know, like that'd be fun. And just take requests and stuff.
No, I think I think I'm sort of getting your position. Maybe I misrepresented your position one time there.
Maybe. I don't think so. I honestly, at the end of the day, like it's just fun for me. So you go right ahead with your questions. And
no, because you said some people could see as killing a murderer as a rights violation.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, would this apply in the case where it's a murderer that doesn't know what they're doing and they're...
Yeah, I still think like whether you know what you're doing or not, if you are violating other people's rights, you are not going to get the same rights granted to you, right? Whether you're severely mentally challenged, whether you're a lion, whether you are, you know, a psychopath who's consciously doing it, or maybe who has a mental illness. As soon as you violate someone else's rights, you no longer get the same rights granted to you.
Let's jump back to the video then.
Okay, let's get this started.
Today's video is going to be a social experiment, and it is going to be paying vegans $1,000 to eat meat. We're going to see what vegans would do if I offered them $1,000 to eat some non-vegan food. So a couple weeks ago, I did a video called Pranking Vegans They Ate Meat, and you guys really loved it. Everybody thought it was so funny. So I will link that video down below if you haven't seen it. Oh, and by the way, guys, there is a serious twist in this video. So if you think that you know what's gonna happen in this video, you don't. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Can we get it to 20,000 thumbs up? And make sure to subscribe if you're not already to join the Marissa Rachel fam. And also click the little bell so that YouTube doesn't unsubscribe you to this channel and you can see more pranks and social experiments. And on to the video. So first we're here with Willie Nelson, woo! From the YouTube channel.
Word from Willie.
But Willie is a vegan. How long have you been vegan?
My entire life. I mean, I love being vegan, but also there's a lot of weird vegans, and
There's a lot of weird
Yeah,
vegans.
there's
entire life?
We'll get some vegan hate.
I like being vegan because I'm really into.
That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, it almost makes it seem fake. I don't know. That's crazy. I mean, I believe him, but that's rare.
Health and fitness, and I feel it's best for my body, and I'm also really into the environment and trying to protect it, and I feel that veganism is a good way to do that.
Wait, did he mention animals?
Into health and fitness. And
We'll get some vegan hate.
I like being vegan because I'm really into health and fitness, and I feel it's best for my body, and I'm also really into the environment and trying to protect it, and I feel that veganism is a good way to do that.
Word.
I'm
Have
so
you
confused.
ever
Hold on.
eaten anything non-vegan?
So he's been vegan his whole life, but then he says he likes being vegan for the environment and for health and fitness. I feel like if you've been vegan your life, A, you would understand it's about the animals, and B, you wouldn't have worded it like that. I don't know. That's weird.
Vegan before?
Not intentionally.
So here we have some food options.
So they're not vegan.
They're not
Really?
vegan.
Yeah, cheese crackers.
Cheese
Okay.
crackers. Yep.
Yes.
Next we have some snack cakes.
Next, we have these powdered sugar donuts.
Yeah.
They got some eggs. They got some milk in them.
Yeah,
We have
it's
A
like
cheeseburger, meat and cheese in it. So,
Okay.
is there anything we could do to convince you to eat any of these?
we have
Snack of
a big
cash.
Oh
fat
my
wad
goodness.
we I know.
Is it actually $1,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have $1,000 in cash here, and Willie, I don't know, he just strikes me as someone who likes money.
I
mean,
do
you
like
like
money.
money.
I do like making
Yeah,
money.
you like money, but you also love veganism,
Yeah.
right?
$20 for every cheese cracker that you eat. $50 for every non-vegan cookie.
$100 for every non-vegan donut that you eat.
What's your feeling the twist will be?
I thought that the meat actually was going to be vegan meat because when she said non-vegan products, but now that she put it in quotes. But now that I'm looking at this, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe this guy's not actually vegan and the whole thing is stupid. I don't know. But yeah, no, I am. This is A, this is not enough money, and B, he's not vegan. This guy is not, he does not know what veganism is. The way she said you love veganism. That's not, that's like saying you love not being racist. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, I think the products might be vegan. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
It's how much are we going to offer him for the lovely non-vegan cheeseburger?
So I mean, $500 bucks.
Wow. That's a lot.
What do you think?
Ooh, it's gonna be a no deal for me.
Well, I mean,
For any of them?
It's just it's not enough money.
it's not. What do you mean it's not enough?
Okay.
money?
So
there
wait,
you go.
Willie,
Yeah,
like,
it's not
why
enough money,
you won't
yeah.
even consider, not
Say again?
I was saying, yeah, like that makes like even him doing a brief calculation. Maybe he is more vegan than he's wording it, but yeah, no, that's nowhere near enough money to justify it.
Oh, there was a weird recommendation that came up there during the video.
not even like the Cheez-Its.
I'd feel sad doing that, and to me, the money is just not worth it. It's not worth breaking my morals. I joke around about enough money, but realistically, no.
He mentioned morals. So
Okay. There he goes.
I just don't want any part in that.
Oh, enough with Willie. No money for Willie.
Oh, tempting.
Just, you know, smell it. Give it a smell. So our next contestant is Pierre.
I've been vegan since June 8th.
Wow.
Oh, of this year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no,
you're like
Brand's
kind of
gonna
a
eat it.
newbie vegan.
Like about
All
6
right.
months or so. So what inspired you to want to become vegan?
I was really overweight and I wanted to get in shape.
Oh no, he's gonna eat the
donut.
donut. He's gonna eat
I
all
lost-
the food there. He's going down. He's going for it. I already
Well-
feel it.
Why do you feel that?
Well, because he's been vegan for a couple months and he did it to lose weight, and now he's got a plate full of donuts that he could make money off of. I mean, if I was in that scenario where I did something just to lose weight and somebody paid me to eat donuts, I would eat the donuts for sure. So I'm not
Yeah,
feeling
I think-
confident.
I've got confidence that he won't do it.
Really? All right. Let's make that bet. Okay, cool. Let's see.
But then, yeah, he didn't mention anything about animal rights. But yeah, he just
We're
went
gonna
vegan
see.
for health. Just vegan for health.
Lost like 30 pounds.
So you love what vegan has done for
Oh, I love it. It's changed my life.
Wow. This whole time, have you ever slipped up? And have you ever had anything wrong with vegan?
I mean, not that I know of.
So we have a bunch of snacks here. Yeah.
So is there any way that we could convince you to eat any of this food? Is there anything?
No,
Really?
Nothing.
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 What we have here is a big old sack of cash,
Nice.
$1,000.
$1,000. Smell it.
Smell it, feel it, smell it,
touch
taste
it. Put on your face a little.
Here, why don't you hold it?
I mean,
That's a very like delayed answer.
just all these thoughts are coming back to my head. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? No, it's definitely not worth it. I
Are
wouldn't do
you
it.
sure?
Oh, good
You
call,
seemed like
Becca.
you were gonna go for it for a second there. You're like,
You've only been vegan for 6 months.
yeah. I thought you were definitely gonna be the one to crack Pierre, but I gotta say, I'm very impressed.
I've just been overweight and I couldn't figure out any diet that would work, anything that would help me. This is something I truly believe in because I see the results and it's 6 months later and it's still working and this is not worth it.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, Pierre, good on you. You look good, buddy.
You look good.
You look really good. Dang.
Thank you for having me.
But yeah, I called it.
Wow, he's really committed to this diet that he's doing, huh? because that's
Yeah.
all veganism is, just a diet to help
Yeah,
you lose
just
weight.
Just a diet.
So here is our third vegan. We have Andy. How long have you been vegan for?
It's been about 2 years, I'd say. You know, we're not actually meant to eat meat and protein from lentils and beans.
We're not
Mm.
meant to eat meat.
Wow, they got a big range of it. They got the diet guy, they got the vegan from birth that guy, and then they got the spiritual guy right here.
And also, animals don't die, so that's pretty okay with
What?
beans. And
Right.
also, animals don't die, so
Okay, he's mentioned some ethics there.
that's pretty okay with me.
So do you think there's any way that you would eat any of this, like that we could convince you to like eat any of this?
Okay, I'd either have to be a prisoner or I'd have to be
Prisoner.
stranded. Survival. You know,
Oh,
that's-
okay.
So here we have $1,000.
Oh my God.
$1,000.
It's kind of twisted that my mouth is
Here.
smiling. Just-
Like the food doesn't make your
Smell
mouth
it,
water,
smell
but
it,
the money
smell
does. Hold it.
Hold it for a little
Yeah.
while.
It's a lot of money.
Just get a feel for it.
cash.
Yeah.
$20 a cheese cracker.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay.
If I can bargain with it, I'd say give me more.
You want more per cheese cracker?
Yeah.
Oh, really vegan up in her. Are you interested?
Yeah.
You just said you've been vegan for 2 years.
Yeah, no, it's stupid. That's money.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh my god. Do you feel any sort of
Wow.
shame?
Can I have that money now? Or-
No, you get it at the end.
so I
Oh,
can
that
get
easy.
all $1,000
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
eat everything here.
Do you think that's fair? Like he has to eat half of that, one of these, and one of these, and who gets the rest of the money?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair
For the rest of the money.
for the rest of the,
The rest of the
money.
money,
So-
full 1,000.
Wow.
I don't like it. I think it's tasteless. This is a pretty gross burger.
Oh my god. He actually did it.
Oh my
I
God.
you like it now?
Oh, did we turn you non-vegan?
It's not bad. It's just not good either.
This that you
Plot
probably
twist.
haven't realized. All of this food here on this table has been vegan all along.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Wow.
It's just really
Did you call it as well, or was it just
Yeah,
me?
because she did non-vegan in quotes at the beginning, and I said, why would you do that unless the food was actually vegan? Interesting. Either this whole video's fake, and he did that, like they did that for clicks, or this guy has his greed outweighed his morals. I don't know. Like, the only thing I could think of, again, if we're doing like a calculation, eating the food on the table technically, oh, hold on. Ali says I used to be awkward the way I explain my vegan ethical position. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But technically eating the stuff on the table isn't contributing to like animal agriculture, or like at least the supply and demand, because you didn't pay for it and it's going to be thrown out essentially. So that's the only calculation I could think of. But just for my own values, I mean, there's too low of a number to eat like human flesh. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really do much good with $1,000. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I think that it could actually create secondhand demand, because just looking how weak, how they just fell for this, like in other situations, then their friends will know, they're not that.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a good point. Or the video, like, especially if it's being filmed, like now everyone who's watching this, who's like, oh, well, I guess it's not that big of a deal if this guy did it for $1,000, yeah, that's a great point. So in
Like,
that
yeah,
context, yeah, I
Like,
agree.
if we could just cook for them animal products, they'll eat it. They'll make an exception.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. So yeah, no, this guy, it's either fake or this guy just really sucks. I don't know. I wouldn't have done that even if I knew it was all vegan because he made vegan. Yeah, that's true. No, in fact, if it was fake, that's even less reason to go along with it. If this is like all set up, because then you're just kind of making vegans look stupid for a video. That's not cool.
Okay, let's keep on going.
It's really gross vegan food.
So that means that you actually don't get anything.
Because you didn't actually eat anything that was not
Every
Yeah,
single
he doesn't
thing
even
was
get
vegan.
any
Even
money.
the burger was vegan.
And I guess if you've been vegan for 2 years, you
I
probably
know.
would forget like what non-vegan food
I know,
tastes
and
like.
power of suggestion.
Power of suggestion.
Andy has no
Andy.
morals.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Enjoy your vegan burger. So thank you guys so much for
Yeah,
These ladies are monsters, bro.
Yeah,
I
we got
I
some-
don't like her.
yeah, pranking Tinder dates. I'm pregnant.
These are like not good pranks. These are like really awful pranks.
Yeah, and just a very weak will there. Just letting down the animals for some paper.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's like, again, I'd love to see that for some other kind of injustice. Like they're like, oh, you get $1,000, but you have to throw a stone at a homosexual. Or like, oh, you get $1,000, but you have to use like slave made goods or something. Like they'd be like, guys, turn the cameras off. This is not funny. Like this is, so yeah. Stuff like this is not, I don't know why people spend their time making just awful things like this. I have seen, I don't know if you've seen those videos where their friends will will swap out their food for like meat. That's the worst. Oh my God. And they get so pissed, and it's like rightfully so. You've got a horrible friend.
I haven't seen these, but yes, sounds awful. Yeah. But yeah, I guess thanks CDA activism for the recommendation.
Yep.
And if you guys have anything you want us to react to in the future, please send it. You can comment under this stream. And I guess next time we can continue with Paul Mason, but there was I'm not too sure.
We should do like an extra, maybe like 10 minutes of it just to see. But like, again, with these guys, once you discredit like most of their video, it's kind of like, all right, all right, we could kind of wrap it up. But we should, Patrick, I'm serious. I think we should do like a Q&A or something sometime. We got to set that up. I think that would be really fun.
Do you have any like questions you think would be interesting?
I'm sure the people do. I mean, I've got questions for you. I like don't really know much about you. So yeah, I've got some questions for you for sure.
Did you get any good questions on your vegan anniversary stream?
Yeah, I did. Oh, do you know when yours is, by the way?
Well, as I said, I first went I first eliminated animal products for health reasons, and then the day when I went vegan, I didn't really record the date.
Do you remember approximately the month?
Like I remember approximately, like it was 8th of November.
8th of November. All right. Well, 8th of November, we gotta have you. We gotta throw you a veganiversary, your first veganiversary party.
But I don't know whether I should take it as when I first eliminated animal products, or whether I should, or take it as the date where I think I first aligned with vegan ethics.
I mean, as long as you weren't using any animal products, I think it's fine to go from the beginning. When was that?
Like 2020, end of 2020.
Do you remember the month?
So it was like my New Year's resolution.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And
Cool.
then, but at the start, I didn't know the problems with eggs or dairy. So I was like, okay, it's cool that I'm not paying for animals to be murdered, but I didn't know that it's possible to exploit people unless, like I thought the only way to exploit someone was if you kill them.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
But then, dairy and eggs also, they have like side deaths. deaths you don't know about. So I thought, like, unless you don't have a dead being on your plate, it's okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the standard thought, most people, I think, start with like a vegetarian mindset, and then they transition to veganism usually. I started with a nutrition thing too, where I was eating like chicken and rice, like what you think you're supposed to be eating to like build muscle. And then I just, once I learned about veganism, I just switched overnight. But yeah.
It took me from 2021 to 2022 to actually just grasp what's it about. And I was watching a Lifting Vegan Logic video. And then I also watched some videos of Dr. Nagro where he talks about ethics, and that clicked.
Cool. Yeah, I'm serious. I think Q&A would be a good idea.
Cool.
But I guess we'll wrap it up, I guess.
That was 2 hours.
20 minutes.
All the questions, for all the engagement.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, CDA activism. You're always responding. You're always replying that you're the first one in the stream.
I don't know how he does that. He's everywhere. He gets first everywhere. So, thank you for all the support.
We should get some people. If anyone's ever interested coming on the stream, let us know. We can let you jump on.
Yeah, now we're talking. That'll be fun.
Like I saw CDA activism did something with vegan postmortem, and with vegan gays. So
cool. And
I saw he had a really good speech in his school. I think it was his school. You can let me know if I got that wrong, but it was like CDA activism. They were walking up and down and like giving a really passionate speech at the school.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I'll check it out.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And comment below the video if you want us to respond to anything.
Thank you, everybody.